I don't know. Okay.
So the two easiest models to determine are the red blood cells, or erythrocytes, and then the platelets. So these little blue wires coming off, these are the fibrin, okay, that are part of the clot. So you have the platelet, which are the cell fragments, and then the fibrin, which are kind of like the fibers that help to form kind of a network for that nice blood clot. The white blood cell is a little bit more complex. Okay, so we basically have 5 major types, and there's 2 things you really need to do. You need to be able to order them based on their abundance.
Never let monkey eat bananas.
Exactly. Never let monkeys eat bananas. Okay? And so your neutrophils, lymphocytes, monocytes, eosinophils, and basophils. Okay? Now the easiest ones to point out are going to be your agranulocytes, or non-granular cells. And that's because the lymphocytes are tiny. They're like the smallest of all these models. And you can see that the nucleus is basically taking up almost the entirety of the cell volume, the inner cell volume. So there's very little cytoplasm. The monocyte is kind of like the opposite. This is the big, behemoth of all the cells. And its nucleus is more kidney bean shaped here. So these are quite easy to distinguish. The granulocytes are a little bit more challenging, especially these two, because their nucleus, right, looks a very similar shape. The only way you can distinguish are the color of the large granules. Now the way I remember is that the granules here are black, and this is a basophil. So B for basophil, B for black. So this must be your basophil, so that means the other one that looks similar must be the eosinophil. And remember, we talked about basophils and eosinophils. They're basically like yin and yang. What one does, the other finishes, right?
Okay.
So basophils, they start the immune kind of response against like allergens, so they produce histamine. They also initiate the immune response against parasitic worms. Then eosinophils, they destroy histamine, taper down the allergy response, and then destroy parasitic worms. But they only do so because basophils kind of start the process.
Okay.
So it's kind of like, okay, I start it, you finish it. Then neutrophils, these are the ones with tiny little granules. See the tiny little red granules here? They have multiple lobes, more than just 2, for their nucleus. And their main function is going to be for phagocytosis. So one of the questions actually on your lab exercise, which 2 cells are phagocytes? Neutrophils and monocytes. Okay? So neutrophils are mainly responsible for destroying bacteria in the first line of defense. Okay? Monocytes are usually later in the immune response. They develop into macrophages when they mature, and are phagocytes as well.
Are these the ones for prolonged infections?
Yeah, they really, so if you have a nice prolonged infection, these will be very abundant, both in lymph tissue and in your blood, etc. And then T lymphocytes and B lymphocytes, they look essentially identical under the microscope. These are responsible for what we're going to talk about next week, which is the adaptive immune response. So producing antibodies and then activating and destroying B cells, destroying virus-infected cells, destroying cancer cells. Okay? So we call it adaptive because it changes based on your exposure to a virus, a bacteria. So when you're exposed to a bacteria, your body can adapt to that and destroy it. And as such, it can also remember that infection and better protect you against future infections by the same organism.
And this is specifically the lymphocyte.
Yeah, so the lymphocytes in general, B and T lymphocytes.
Okay.
They both do that.
Thank you so much.